Welcome, my friends, to the Thursday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, the fastest hour in American media. And, of course, so much to discuss, there always is. For one thing, ladies and gentlemen, he's back. He has been quiet, but he has arrived back on the scene up in Connecticut last night. Barack Hussein Obama, and he is concerned that democracy is in trouble. His wife has also made news, Michelle Obama. Let me find that story real quick. I know I printed it somewhere. Here it is. How's this for a headline, ladies and gentlemen? Michelle Obama on being glad she didn't have a son. He would have been a Barack Obama. That's what the headline says. Michelle Obama says she's so glad she never had a son because he would have been a kitty clone of her husband. You should have thrown a boy in the mix, radio host Angie Martinez told Obama in an episode of the former First Lady's IMO podcast. Released on Wednesday. I'm so glad I didn't have a boy, Obama exclaims. Why didn't you throw in a third? Because he would have been a Barack Obama. Baby Barack. It would have been amazing. Oh, no. Oh, no. I would have felt for him. I mean, imagine you're the husband and that's what your wife says to you. Oh, I'm glad I didn't have a boy. It would have been like him. Anyway, Lord Obama made an appearance in Connecticut, Bushnell something or another, the Bushnell Performing Arts Center in Harvard, and it was a fest. And so, ladies and gentlemen, yes, there is news about Iran. Donald Trump says he's within the next 2 weeks. He'll make a decision on whether or not to take out Iran. We'll get to the Obama stuff in a moment. Just looking at this amazing headlines here before my eyes, Democrats want new leaders. Focus on pocketbook issues. That's the result of a Reuters Ipsos poll. Democrats, this is a hilarious hoot headline. Democrats accuse Trump administration of weaponizing law enforcement to silence political foes. CBS ran that one, and it's just hysterical. And the first person they cite is Fang Fang's boyfriend, Eric Swalwell. And so now they go on and on and on with, here's another, we'll get to some of this stuff. DNC reportedly may need to borrow cash to keep the lights on. Is that Mr. Sliwa I see over there? Well, by all means, tell Mr. Sliwa I said hello. A former Democrat strategist warns that his party has a lot to be worried about. And it continues there. So the Democrats are finding themselves in chaos to the point. We've got a great Hakeem Jeffries quote. For he was outside holding a little picnic. It was like on the steps with a little amplifier and stuff, talking with it was like this little group fest. I don't know whether it was the Capitol steps or wherever, but he was outside at some venue, sitting down, like looking all chill and everything, talking with a group of people. And he actually citing a Republican general to make his point. We'll get to that. But first, Lord Obama. Lord Obama last night had a few things to say about immigration, the Constitution, et cetera, et cetera. Let us begin with constitutional norms. Let's just run right through them. Carlos, 9, 10, and 11. We'll start with the first one, and here's Lord Obama.
All those institutional norms and laws that were embodied in the Constitution imperfectly, and then over time were expanded so that we had a basic understanding of, like, I can't just be picked up on the street and hauled off to another country. That's not something. That wasn't a partisan view. That wasn't a Republican or a Democratic notion that shouldn't happen. That was an American value and norm. But facts are important.
They are.
Because if you can't, and I think one of the most pernicious things that has happened is we have a situation now where we're not just arguing policy or values or opinions, but basic facts are being contested.
Basic facts.
And that is a problem. Because then the marketplace of ideas of the democracy don't work. And we're now in a situation in which we are having these just basic factual arguments. And that further undermines trust. And those in power, those with money, exploit that space in which nobody knows what's true.
Carlos, hold it right there. Just pause it. Because right now we're having an argument over things like basic facts. We can't. We've never been in a space where we're arguing over basic factual information, and when we argue over basic factual information, you don't know who to trust, and so, my friends, we here we are. It's a democracy, and we're arguing over. It didn't used to be like this. We had norms, and now that we're arguing we're arguing over basic facts, and it's like since the beginning of time, ladies and gentlemen, we once believed, for instance, that men were men and women were women. But right now, we're arguing over basic facts, thanks to the Democrat Party and the ideology over Democrats. Basic facts are no longer basic facts, you see. Right now, Democrats would have you believe that illegal doesn't mean illegal. Illegal means the word illegal is a suggestion, and it just means that they're really legal even though they're illegal. And men are not men anymore. Men are women, and men can get pregnant, and men can have babies, and men can have periods too. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be offensive. Men can have menstrual cycles, because now we're at a stage in our country where we argue over basic facts. And it's not healthy for our democracy. Please, let's continue with Mr. Obama.
Vladimir Putin.
Vladimir
and the KGB.
KGB
had a saying that was then adopted proudly by Steve Bannon, which was, if you want propaganda to be effective, you don't have to convince people that what you are saying is true. You just have to flood the zone with so much poop. They use a different word, but you have to flood the zone with so much untruth constantly that at some point people don't believe anything. Democracy is not self-executing. It requires people.
But wait a minute. Before we talk about democracy not being self-executed, listen. We all know. It might be poop to some. I mean, they might use a different word, poop. But for instance, you people right now are driving around in cars and automobiles, and you have air conditioning, and all of that has led to the earth is just falling apart, ladies and gentlemen. That's what That's what Democrats believe. Mankind is the worst ever thing to ever happen to mankind and to planet Earth, and people used to believe that God created heaven and earth, but apparently they were wrong. It was the Democrats that created everything, and the Republicans, because they don't support clean air and they want your kids to die. They're destroying democracy, but they're also destroying the planet. And look, this is the kind of poop, be-doop that Republicans poop out every day, right? They don't care about anything. And what used to be fact, we used to not argue about things, because everybody was peaceful before. Look here, let me just wrap up by saying this, and we'll be done.
Democracy is not self-executing. It requires people, judges, and people in the Justice Department, and people throughout the government who take an oath to uphold the Constitution. It requires them to take that oath seriously. And when that isn't happening, we start drifting into something that is not consistent with American democracy. It is consistent with autocracies. It's consistent with Hungary under Orban. It's consistent with places that hold elections but do not otherwise observe what we think of as a fair system in which everybody's voice matters and people have a seat at the table and there's checks and balances and nobody's above the law.
Except Democrats, because you see, that's the whole thing about the Constitution. Supposedly, federal law is supposed to be that the federal government's supposed to be in charge of immigration, and but Democrats they just decided they don't like the law and the Constitution, so they just ignore it. And now the people in our blue cities are out battling the ICE police, and they don't like what's happening. We have to take a break. Carlos, would you don't destroy democracy during this break, please? We'll be right back here. Don't go away, because democracy is threatened.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And let me tell you another thing. I don't. The Republicans they don't care who they hurt.
So you're telling me that if the big, beautiful bill passes, I will lose everything. I will lose the bottom surgery that I have been on a wait list for 2 years. I will lose my testosterone. All gender-affirming care. Gone. Just gone. And y'all are okay with that. You think that trans people shouldn't exist, so you're trying to eradicate our health care. I thought you cared about kids, because, they're about to die. A lot.
We can't abide that. I tell you. And then, by the way, poor Judy Chu, my friend in California, she's having a hard time out there.
I'm here to conduct my official duties in inspecting these facilities to determine the conditions for these detainees.
Ma'am, this is not a detention facility. This is only temporary, a holding area. So any detention facility inspections you need to do will be conducted at Adelanto.
We were at Adelanto, and actually I've read the law, and the law says that any facility that is conducted by the Department of Homeland Security for the purpose of detaining aliens are subject to inspection by members of Congress.
Okay, ma'am, let me get you an ICE supervisor, okay?
Yeah, just hang in there, Judy. We'll check back with you in a minute and see whether you got into that ICE facility out there in California. Snerdley here. Whatever you do, don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
When we last left, Judy Chu, representative out there, in San Diego, was trying to get into a DHS facility, DTLA, to check on illegal immigrants. And you heard they're going to get an ICE supervisor to talk to her. Well, let's check in, see whether she actually made it in.
So I have now turned on this button to be let into this facility, as is my legal right as a member of Congress. And each time they have, in essence, ignored me. And that is something that goes against the law, that is not right, and that is, in fact, completely outrageous. And there are so many people that are concerned about these terrible raids that are now happening all across LA County, including the U.S. citizen who was detained in Pico Rivera. It's not just those who are possibly undocumented, but everybody, those with green cards, even U.S. citizens. In Adelanto, I actually saw a DACA recipient who was there detained in Adelanto. So everybody is being affected.
She didn't get in. Darn it. Look, let me just be really clear about this. Congress does have the right for oversight. And if they show up, they're supposed to be let in. Just like they were supposed to be let in to go see the J6 people, but they were never let in. Except for two. Louis Gohmert got in, but the first one that got in was Marjorie Taylor Greene. They refused to let members of Congress in, and nobody cared. And that's just... So, Representative Chu, I am so sorry that you have been inconvenienced. I mean, you stood there and they didn't let you in. It's terrible. It's bad. Horrible. So inconvenient. James Golden and Snerdley with you. There is a new study, ladies and gentlemen. Poor Judy Chu. Mass deportations could cost California's economy $275 billion. Billion. That's a new report out by the Bay Area Council Economic Institute in partnership with UC Merced public health professor Maria Elena de Trinidad Young. And what they found is that undocumented immigrants, who they say make up 8% of California's workforce, are integral to the state's $4.1 trillion economy, the fourth largest in the world, as they keep telling us over and over and over again. Immigrants, both documented and undocumented, are deeply and intricately woven into our overall economic fabric. These are the same arguments that Democrats used when they were defending slavery. You know, these slaves, they are woven like cotton into the economy of the South. And we can't do without them slaves. We need them. We need them people to keep working so that our economy can thrive. Same arguments now being used with the illegal immigrants. Undocumented workers generate nearly 5% of the state's gross domestic product, a number that climbs to 9% when factoring in direct impact. So you see, we should ignore the law because them people is worth money to California. And they say disruptions. Undocumented migrants, immigrants, make up 14% of California's construction workforce. Their removal would cause that industry GDP to drop by 16%. Agriculture alone, 63% of the workforce are immigrants. More than one quarter are undocumented, here illegally. So you see, we can't, according to this report, and according to the way what Karen Bass is out there saying, we can't get rid of these illegal people here. Screw the laws. We have woven them into the economy. Just like the South woven them black people that was working into their economy. That's right, down there in the Democrat South. And we need them people to make everybody to make the other people rich. We need them. I mean, they ain't rich, but if we lose them, I mean, can you imagine what's going to happen to the wealthy developers out there in California if they can't use them? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh Lord, I just get so mixed up. It's just if we can't use them. Them Hispanics to do the work. I mean, Lord have mercy. What's going to happen to our money? We ain't going to be rich no more. And if we ain't rich, we can't give to the Democrats no more. Lord have mercy. I'm just saying. And it's getting bad out there, too. You know what's going on in Hawaii? Oh, I got news from Hawaii, ladies and gentlemen. And the news from Hawaii isn't good. The news from Hawaii is terrible. They got a representative, too. Her name is Jill Tokuda. And we have a report from her right now.
So President Trump and House Republicans want to steal $313 billion in SNAP funds. That's literally stealing food out of the mouths of hungry keiki chikapuna across this country. Here in Hawaii, we're talking of over 160,000 people who rely on SNAP, have to stretch that $6 a day.
Hold it. You have a question there. You look puzzled. What's your question, Carlos?
She wear like kiki chika something. And I don't know what she meant.
Just come on there, boy. Just look here. What you arguing about? Okay, just start it over again. We'll figure it out. It's Kichi Chika Kuna, I think. But, you know, just...
So President Trump and House Republicans want to steal $313 billion in SNAP funds. That's literally stealing food out of the mouths of hungry keiki chikapuna across this country. Here in Hawaii, we're talking of over 160,000 people who rely on SNAP, have to stretch that $6 a day on average per person to try to feed themselves in the state that has some of the highest costs of living and food prices. So I went to the grocery to show you exactly how much food costs for a few staple items here in our state. When we're talking about a gallon of milk, on the continental United States, that's on average $4. In Hawaii on sale, that's $7.99, double the cost. For a loaf of bread, right now it's $1.88 on the mainland. Here in Hawaii on sale, $6.79. For a pound of ground beef to feed your family, on the continent it's about $5.99. Here in Hawaii, again on sale, $7.29. And for a dozen eggs, right now on the continent it's $4.55, and in Hawaii it is going for $9.29, and that's actually come down recently. So imagine the hundreds of thousands of people here in the islands trying to stretch that $6 a day to feed their family. This isn't even supplemental, and it's cruel to think that Trump and his billionaire buddies are trying to steal money, food money from hungry people to enrich themselves. That's why House Democrats will always fight back to make sure that we put people first. We put people over politics. That's why we're fighting against these egregious, inhumane SNAP cuts.
Well, if you were really putting people first, you might encourage people to actually go out and work for their livelihood. And you might also think about diversifying your economy. Maybe import some chickens. I got news for you. Chickens do thrive on islands. I've seen them on islands in the South Pacific. Okay, that helps the egg prices. You know what I've also seen on other islands? I've seen cows and oxen. You know what? They grow. And people can produce their own food. They don't have to rely on EBT cards for food. So why don't you have, instead of just creating generation and generation of dependency among people and expecting someone else to take care of them, how about a little bit of rugged individualism? And actually showing people how they can produce and take care of themselves rather than waiting for the taxpayers to take care of them. And nobody's stealing anything. It's the people's money to begin with. It's not your money, Representative Jill Takuda. It's not the people of Hawaii's money to begin with. It is the people who actually work and earn the money. That's who the money belongs to. Karen Bass, out in the same kind of dependency thing. Here is Bass, cut 5, Carlos, whining about, well, you'll hear Karen Bass.
Well, L.A. Mayor Karen Bass was in Little Tokyo meeting with the owners of businesses damaged in the vandalism and violence that followed demonstrations over the ICE raids. The neighborhood was especially hit hard. Bass says that was a factor in putting a curfew in effect. That curfew was lifted yesterday. Now businesses are hopeful that customers will be back.
When I talk to them, business is still slow, but it's getting back. And so what was good is that one of the restaurants I was at, they had a very busy lunch hour. And so that's a good sign.
The mayor also calling on President Trump to pull troops out of Los Angeles in light of the fact that the violence has subsided.
Yeah, it's still violent out there. And Portland is a nightmare. They had another almost war scene in Portland. A lot of video on it, very little audio. I mentioned, and I got to do this before I get out of here, I got to get to Hakeem Jeffries. Cut 14, Carlos. Check out what Hakeem Jeffries had to say.
This is a time for us to put principles over party. Principles over party. It reminds me, I think that's a powerful moment for us. Reminds me of a letter that Ulysses Grant was said to have sent at the start of the Civil War. Of course, the great general who subsequently became president. And at that moment of great turmoil,
dancing in the streets, we got
country literally tearing itself apart. Grant wrote that whatever my prior political positions have been, my prior opinions have been up until this point, I have but only one objective now. And Grant then said, we have a government and laws and a flag, and they must all be sustained. Government, laws, and a flag, and they must all be sustained. And then he said something even deeper than that. Because at that time in American history, there were multiple parties. We're in a two-party system right now, but there were multiple parties. And what Grant said is, there are but two parties in America right now, patriots and traitors.
There are two parties in America right now, patriots and traitors. Which one is the Democrat Party? He's citing him, talking about the flag, that we must sustain you. You guys are the rebels. You are the Confederacy. The Democrat Party was the Confederacy then. Mr. Hakeem Jeffries, you are the Confederacy now. You are totally against enforcing the laws of the United States. Your people are out rioting. Your people, I mean you liberal folks, out rioting in the streets. You're acting much the same way the old Confederacy did with your new Confederate Democrat Party. So I find it really ironic that you would sit and quote Ulysses S. Grant, who helped save this nation from the Confederacy, while you guys are bemoaning the American military and American law enforcement, just like you did in the Civil War. Kind of ironic that you would pull that out. Okay, Martin Frost, cut 7. Florida's Representative Martin Frost, this one comes quick. Let's hear it.
And to my Republican colleagues who say, I don't want any undocumented people in this country, I actually agree with you. So let's document every single one of them with a speedy path to citizenship. That's how we fix this problem.
And you know what? I agree with Martin Frost. You should stake out your position. You think you don't want undocumented people? You want run on it. I think you have the right. I don't agree with his assessment that we should just give a speedy path to citizenship. No, I'm saying I agree with the fact that he should run on his beliefs. I'm not mad at him if this is what Democrats want. And why don't more of you guys stand up like little youngster Martin Frost and just say, we want everyone. We don't, regardless of whether they're criminals, regardless of whether they're rapists, murderers, whatever, we want every single undocumented person in the United States to become quote unquote legal. You picked that's your position, run on your position. Make that the mantra of the Democrat Party. Please do that. Let's see. 15, very quickly. This is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
Reconstituted the best parts of the Republican Party, and it's for everybody. It's not the country club anymore. It's not big business, but it's pro-business, but with an eye on working Americans. And that's what we really lost.
Trump has reconstituted the Republican Party quickly, and then we got to head to a break. Number 12, Mayor Johnson, Chicago.
As you well know, the city is facing a significant budget deficit and spending hundreds of millions of dollars on migrant support. How do you justify these expenditures to taxpayer concerned about other pressing needs that you just listed right there about the concerns?
Well, we are addressing those pressing needs, and the reason why we responded to this global crisis of the migrant mission was because the federal government failed to do its part. You know, Governor Abbott spent over $220 million to ship people across America. Instead of working with Congress to actually pass substantive immigration reform policy, they wanted to create division. But we're not going to allow that to happen in the city of Chicago. Much like we fought for civil rights 60 years ago, we're going to continue to make sure that whether you are black, brown, Asian, white, young, old, working people deserve to be prioritized. And this misnomer that there's division, and consternation within communities solely based on this issue is just wrong. He's working to eliminate black history. He is trying to eliminate black existence from this country, but he's also attacking the LGBTQ+.
I wouldn't say he's trying to eliminate black existence.
We're going to bring people together in this country to make sure we build the safest, most affordable big city in America.
He was on with Pamela Brown. Even she was like, well, I wouldn't say he's trying to, well, they could hear the Lord. I wouldn't say that he's trying to eliminate black people from America. Well, that's what they're all saying quietly, and some not so quietly like Brandon. So you heard earlier the trans guy, because he might not be able to get you, the taxpayer, to pay for his bottom surgery, means we're trying to eliminate trans people. No, we're not. It means Republicans are Trump. And Brandon, because we're not going along with this illegal is legal, silly notion that the Democrats believe as part of their new religion, well, somehow or another, Brandon's connecting that with Trump wants to get rid of black people and do genocide and get black people totally out of existence in America. This is utter, sheer, beyond belief stupidity. James Golden, Snerdley. Keep it right here. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I just heard from Tom Bond, who was the first cousin of the MI5 famous agent, James Bond. Tom Bond happens to be married to the Countess of Conspiracy, by the way. Tom Bond says, it is very interesting hearing a quote from Jeffries, quoting a Republican president. He said he loves it. He said, but you must realize it's really hard to quote Democrats from that age. Aha. On that note, my friends, we have to go. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your family, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here with me, allowing me to be with you on this, the fastest hour in American media. God willing, we're back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Until then, my friends, I bid you adieu. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
We all know that owning a small business means you wear many hats, but sometimes you really need an extra pair of hands. Upwork is how good companies find great and trusted freelance talent. With more than 2 decades of experience with a simple and ambitious goal of pioneering a better way of working, companies at every stage turn to Upwork to get things done and find more flexibility in staffing key projects and initiatives. They access a global marketplace filled with top talent in IT, web dev, marketing, and more. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelance profiles, get help drafting a job post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Visit Upwork.com today and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com.